It is the Jim Villanucci Show. I am not Jim Villanucci. Alan Stock filling in for him this week as he takes a little time off. Great to have you with us. Coming up in a few moments, things work out as they're planned. We'll be talking with Carly Fiorina, who right now is registering number 3, right behind Donald Trump and Ben Carson when it comes to the presidential nomination for the GOP. So we'll be hopefully talking to her in just a few moments. Real quickly, I know Lee's been holding since the last hour we had Steve Wolfson on, so I want to get you on real quick. I appreciate your holding. I want to get you on for a moment or two before we get to Carly Fiorina, but go right ahead, Lee.
Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to chime in on the Arizona idiot that's off the side of the freeway. I know people don't like it when the National Guard is brought in for public things, but I would think that'd be a perfect situation to have those guys go out, skip their practice and go into some real-time practice and go find this guy. The police are already busy enough, so why not have the National Guard mobilize into the area they're looking and just have them start looking for him? A whole lot more eyes and bodies on the ground than the police can put out.
I would agree with that. I mean, I'd have no problem with that at all.
I wouldn't. I mean, I know there's folks that don't like to see them show up because they start screaming police state and all this other stuff, but I think that's the perfect opportunity for them to get in some real world practice and find this nut job.
All right. Well, you know what? I appreciate your having held. I thank you very, very much, and we'll try to get into a little more of this as the week progresses. Thank you very, very much. And he was holding, so I wanted to get him on to talk about that. So there's authorities investigating another possible shooting on the Arizona freeway down there, and there have been 11 possible freeway shootings in Arizona. They're trying to investigate all of this, and it could be a serial sniper down there, and I would agree. I would bring out everyone to be able to try to figure out what's going on, and they find them. A little target practice wouldn't hurt. That's for sure. All right, coming in a few moments, we should be talking with Carly Fiorina. Again, she is a former Hewlett-Packard CEO. She had several good weeks, and what's happening is some of the political experts out there are now saying that she's in third place in the GOP 2016 power rankings. This is the second week of the rankings that they've held, and it's showing her moving up from 6th place to 3rd. And we've got Florida Senator Marco Rubio dropping from 3rd to 6th. So, and what's changed is I think more people are becoming aware of Carly Fiorina as the time goes on. And this, of course, is going to put her into a bigger spotlight. What's happening is, of course, this whole CNN debate controversy that she's been involved in has put her in the spotlight in a big way. And what's going to happen is she's sitting in with for the debate next week from tomorrow, as a matter of fact. We're going to be able to see her, with all of these other people. And I think with that in mind, we'll see how she does with all of them. She is, I think, one of the smartest people in the race. She's the one also who will answer the questions directly. And even if someone asks her a question and she starts to answer and they try to get her off track, like Katie Couric did, she just stays right on track. Bam, she's right there answering the question. She doesn't allow herself to be distracted at all. And I salute her for that. Interesting thing also about this particular race as it stands right now is that you've got the 3 top people right now who are ranked in this ranking. You've got Donald Trump, you've got Ben Carson, and Carly Fiorina. None of them have ever held elective office. Carly Fiorina ran for the U.S. Senate against Barbara Boxer in California, didn't win, which is California's loss as far as I'm concerned, but she didn't win. But you got all 3 of them that have never held elective office. And yet they're holding about 56% of the latest poll vote that I've seen, the latest poll rankings that I've seen, 56% for 3 of them. That means 44% are sharing, or 14 are sharing another 44%. That's pretty amazing when you consider the others are either governors or former governors or senators. And they are people who have held elective office. They've been involved in the electoral process. And it seems that people are now wanting to go away from some of the traditional politicians. The one exception to that, by the way, I would see right now, believe it or not, is John Kasich from Ohio. And I say that because I've talked to people who are Democrats, people who are Republicans. A lot of people saying, well, he might be a good guy to get in because he seems to appeal to both sides. He's had a track record as a successful governor of Ohio, and he might be the guy who could reach across the aisle to both sides. And that's kind of how I'm seeing Carly Fiorina and even Ben Carson. Donald Trump possibly. It's hard to say because Donald Trump is not going for the intellect. Donald Trump is going for the gut. He's going for the emotion. And what's going to happen at the debate next Thursday, a week from tomorrow, is I think they're going to try to get specific with him at CNN, and he's going to be forced to go ahead and answer some of these questions very, very specifically. He's not going to be able to dodge it by just coming on with a sense of emotion. And I think that'll be to his advantage, actually, if he can produce. Because you're going to have people like Carly Fiorina being very specific. And I think her being up there is going to be a huge, huge challenge to Donald Trump as well as to some of the others. Certainly to people like Jeb Bush, who, by the way, is fourth in this ranking. Fourth in the ranking. Donald Trump stayed at 1. Ben Carson stayed at number 2. Carly Fiorina went from 6 up to 3. And so, I mean, she is definitely on a roll right now. All right. And, all right, I'm very, very happy to be able to have her aboard to talk about it. Again, a Fortune magazine in 1998 named her the most powerful woman in business. She remained on that Fortune list for the next 6 years. In 1999, she was recruited to serve as the chief executive officer of Hewlett-Packard, becoming the first woman to lead a Fortune 20 company. And she is one of the smartest people I've ever seen run for office before. Whether she's held office or not, I don't care. But let me introduce to you Carly Fiorina. Ms. Fiorina, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us here on KXNT in Las Vegas.
Hey, it is my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
It's great having you. I know we've got very little time, and so if you don't mind, I'm going to jump right into some of the issues and give you a chance. I'm looking forward to, by the way, you being on the CNN debate next week. I'm sure you're looking forward to that.
Yes, I am, Alan. I'm very much looking forward to it.
If the president gets his way on the Iran deal, and it appears he will, what could or what would you do as president of the United States to help mitigate that, or would you at all?
Oh, I most definitely would. We have to stop the money flow. So first, on day one in the Oval Office, I would make 2 phone calls. The first would be to Bibi Netanyahu, who I've known a long time, to reassure him we'll stand with the state of Israel. The second will be to the supreme leader of Iran, who realistically might not take the phone call, but he'll get the message. And the message is this: until and unless you open every nuclear and military facility to real, anytime, anywhere inspections by our people, not yours, we, the United States of America, will make it as difficult as possible for you to move money around the global financial system. We can do that. We don't need anyone's permission to do it. We don't need anyone's collaboration to do it. And we must do it. Because even if Congress had managed to stop this deal, which they will not, but even if they had, is flowing. The money is flowing from China. The money is flowing from Russia. The money is flowing from Europe. None of those nations waited until our Congress had acted. And that money is being used to further develop a nuclear weapon. Iran has been hell-bent on gaining a nuclear weapon. I know that from my time at the Central Intelligence Agency, leading their advisory board. I know that based on my conversations with Bibi Netanyahu and the head of Mossad in Israel. And they have been using money to fuel their proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Quds Force, all of whom are tasked with sowing conflict in the Middle East. This is a terrible deal, and we have to cut off the money flow. I will.
I'm glad to hear that. Let me go to something else, because Donald Trump has made a lot of publicity out of the illegal immigration issue. I want to give you an opportunity to talk about what your thumbnail sketch would be of how you would address this issue of illegal immigration. I want to get you on the record for this.
Well, first, how long have we been talking about this? We've been talking about illegal immigration for 25 years. Our border's been insecure for 25 years. Our legal immigration system has been broken for 25 years. And every election cycle, somebody brings it up. This time it's Donald Trump. But here's the thing. We know how to fix this. We just apparently haven't had the leadership or the political will to do it. So first, we need to secure the border. By the way, we have a Republican majority in Congress. A lot of us worked hard to elect them. And guess what? They could pass a border security bill tomorrow. They haven't. We never have. It takes money. manpower, technology, but it's not rocket science. Mostly, apparently, what it takes is leadership, a track record of getting stuff done, and political will. Second, we need to fix the legal immigration system. It's broken in so many ways. We don't have an employer verification system that works, so we can't make it mandatory. We hand out border crossing cards every day. We don't know if people come home. San Francisco, by the way, has been a sanctuary city since 1989. We have 300 of them in this country. People talk about it at election time, but it never gets done. It's why I'm running for office, because I think we need a leader now who has a track record of problem solving, challenging the status quo, and producing results.
Would you penalize
the border? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Would you in any way penalize these sanctuary cities?
Yes, absolutely. We need to enforce federal law. We need to enforce federal law in these sanctuary cities, period, end of statement. So it's nice that everybody's talking about it this time. But honestly, it makes you wonder whether they're talking about it just to get elected. Since 1989, San Francisco has been a sanctuary city. This has become a nation where people just choose not to enforce or follow the law. It's not acceptable.
All right, let me ask you this also, because it's a big question. You've got very little time, but I've got to ask it anyway. Looking at the situation as it is today, how would you as president address the war that's going on in the Middle East? Some people say we should pull out, not get involved. It's none of our business. Others say that it's the greatest nation on earth. We've got to take the lead. Your action, if you were president today, what would you be doing, Ms. Fiorina?
Well, first, we mismanaged going into Iraq, and we mismanaged getting out of Iraq. Our precipitous withdrawal completely from Iraq, no doubt, contributed to the current situation, and President Obama and Secretary of State Clinton declared victory in Iraq in 2011, and then watched as this crisis has grown. Let's start with ISIS. I would hold a Camp David summit with our Arab allies, all of whom I know. I'm talking about the Jordanians, the Saudis, the Egyptians, the Bahrainis, the Qataris, and the Kurds. Every single one of those nations is fighting ISIS on the ground as we speak. But every single one of them also has asked us for some very specific things. The Kurds have been asking us to arm them for 3 years. We haven't. I will. The Jordanians have been asking us to supply bombs and materiel. We haven't. I will. The Egyptians have asked us to share intelligence. We haven't. I would. The point is, our allies in the Middle East know ISIS is their fight. ISIS is an existential threat to them. But they will not fight unless they see support and leadership and resolve from the United States of America, which is why I would hold that Camp David summit and ask them, what do you need from us to defeat this? I think there's no doubt we will need some special forces. I think there's no doubt we need more effective bombing runs. But I do not believe that sending 10,000 American troops onto the ground will help the situation at all.
All right, a couple of other quick questions. Israel, our greatest ally in the Middle East, as president, would you move the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which is the capital of Israel?
I would.
All right. Let me ask you another quick question about Israel, very important to a lot of American Jews. Should American Jews who were born in Jerusalem be allowed to have it stated on their birth certificate and or their passport that they were born in Israel? Right now, the American government states they cannot state that they were born in Israel itself.
I think it's a silly rule, frankly. Yes, I think they should have that right.
All right. And let me ask you about education. Everybody's thinking about that. How much responsibility to a child's education would you return to the state? Would you get rid of or mitigate the Department of Education that was created by Jimmy Carter back in the 1970s?
Absolutely. I would return as much responsibility as absolutely possible. The Department of Education has grown bigger and bigger, gotten more money under both Republicans and Democrats, by the way. Talk about an issue where the professional political class of both parties has failed us. No Child Left Behind, Race to the Top, Common Core. They're all big bureaucratic programs that are failing our nation. Income inequality, meaning children of low-income households, their outcomes are worse than children of higher-income households, and that disparity has been growing for decades, even as the Department of Education has been growing bigger for decades, both Republicans and Democrats alike.
I'm very impressed by the fact that when you've been interviewed on various television shows, somebody will ask you a question, you'll start to answer it, then they'll try to get you off your game a little bit by interrupting you, and you seem to have an ability that most politicians don't, to be able to focus on the initial question and go ahead and give that answer. And I think a lot of people are impressed with that. The USA Today GOP power rankings that just came out today for week 2 show that you have actually gone from sixth place to third. Donald Trump in first, Ben Carson in second. You're now in third place. You know what I find interesting is that you're making a huge leap in this area, but also the top 3 people are 3 people who have never held political office before, and that must say something big about this electoral process.
Yes, it does. And you know what it says? It says that people know that the political class has failed us. They know the system is failing us. We need to return to a citizen government. This professional political class where people have spent their whole lives in politics, they know nothing else. They become captured by the system. In polls now, 75% of the American people think the federal government is corrupt. I agree with them. It is bloated, inept, and corrupt. And 82% of the American people now think we have a professional political class so consumed with the protection of its own power, privilege, and position that it's not getting the work done. Just like they're not securing the border, they're not fixing the Department of Education, and it doesn't seem to matter whether it's Democrats or Republicans. Yes, there are differences between Democrat and Republican ideologies, but somehow that difference doesn't translate into real changes.
Well, listen, I can't endorse anybody because of what I do, but I can tell you this. I'm impressed by your candidacy very, very much, and I have a hunch that if elected, you would be one hell of a great president, and I mean that sincerely. I'm really.
Thank you, Alan, so much. I really appreciate it. That means a lot coming from you, and one thing I will promise to the American people, I will not falter. I have spent my whole life, the only way you go from being a secretary to being a CEO and running for president is you challenge the status quo. That is what's required in Washington today. I understand leadership. I understand problem solving. We need to cut this bureaucracy down to size and finally change the system.
Listen, I appreciate your being with me, and hopefully when you get to town, I'll be on the air and you'll be able to come on in studio and spend some time with us.
I will look forward to that, Alan. Thanks so much for having me.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Carly Fiorina joining us right here on News Talk 840 AM KXNT. Can we go to traffic now? Is that okay? Is she ready to do that? I know I'm late. Okay. Elisa McKenna with traffic here on KXNT.